Iran's president arrived in Pakistan's capital Tuesday to continue peace talks aimed at reaching a permanent end to the war. During the first round of talks in Switzerland, negotiators agreed on new mechanisms to de-escalate clashes between Israel and Hezbollah and keep oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz.
We have an oil gusher. The strait is totally open.
But the biggest breakthrough came on the nuclear front, with U.S. officials saying Iran agreed to allow international inspectors back into the country.
That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran.
But Iran's foreign ministry says no such plan is in place.
At
the meeting held in Switzerland, we had no detailed discussions regarding the nuclear issue.
Trying to set the record straight, President Trump posted this morning, despite their protestations and false statements to the contrary, Iran has fully and completely agreed to highest-level nuclear inspections long into the future. This will ensure nuclear honesty.
I think what will happen is that for the next 60 days, we'll go back and forth, but at the end of 60 days, they must agree to any time, any place, sanctions and inspections.
Citing progress with peace talks, the White House lifted sanctions on Iranian oil sales and unfroze Iranian assets, but that money must be used to buy food from U.S. farmers. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
40 cities from all around the world have come together to bring their mayoral voices to the issue of urban data centres, to set out some new conditions that are needed in order to manage the growth of data centres in a sustainable way, in a way that brings value to communities, to the environment, and also to the economies of these cities.
We know that data centres are hugely energy intensive. They also use up enormous volumes of water, and often they have very significant impact on local amenity in neighbourhoods, while not really giving back in terms of new jobs or community benefits. So we want to see a better framework in place so that the investment rush in data centres can be a win-win for investors and also a win for local communities.
We understand the importance of this innovation. It's creating great jobs in our community. We just want to make sure that we get it right for our local residents and for the health of our planet.
New revelations about the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of NBC Today show anchor Savannah Guthrie. According to law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation, a note sent to media outlets in February after Guthrie disappeared said she had died. It came after an earlier note demanding millions of dollars for ransom. Investigators believed both notes were legitimate communications from the person or people responsible for the kidnapping.
The first note, which comes from the same source as the second note, had certain details about the home.
According to law enforcement sources, in the second note, the kidnapper or kidnappers said they did not mean to kill Nancy Guthrie, but that she died shortly after being taken from her home near Tucson, Arizona.
Basically said, you're not going to hear from us again. You know, our business is done. Sorry it worked out this way.
At the time, the family responded with an emotional video on February 7th. The contents of the second note were known to CNN and a Tucson, Arizona television station's local news department that received both notes.
At the request of the FBI and at the request of the family, kept the contents of the note confidential.
Now, more than 20 weeks since Guthrie was reported missing on February 1st, the Pima County Sheriff's Department says the investigation remains active and ongoing. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
The yeas are 85 and the nays are 5.
In a rare moment of bipartisanship, the Senate overwhelmingly passed a housing affordability bill on Monday, sending it to the House for final passage.
As home ownership has gotten further and further out of the reach for working families, so is the American dream.
The bill, known as the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, contains more than 45 provisions aimed at lowering costs and increasing supply. It bans corporate investors from purchasing certain single-family homes, streamlines environmental reviews, and expands manufactured housing.
When you cut red tape, you actually reduce the cost of housing. More people have a chance to become a first-time home buyer.
The final vote comes after months of negotiations between the Senate Banking and House Financial Services Committees. Each chamber approved different versions of the legislation earlier this year before reaching a final agreement last week.
The bill we're passing today sends a clear message
to every American struggling to find a place they can afford.
Housing affordability remains one of the biggest concerns for Americans ahead of the midterm elections. According to the National Association of Realtors, sales remained stuck at a 30-year low in 2025.
What people tell me is, you know, we're getting up every day and we look around and we see too many undeserving people at the top getting bailouts.
The House is expected to approve the bill. It then heads to President Trump, who has signaled his support. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Pues para nosotros es una experiencia impresionante. Imagínate, yo ahorita me siento con la pasión, mi sangre corre por las venas diciendo, aquí es el mundial, yo lo estoy viviendo, me tocó y doy gracias de verdad, a que aquí es el mundial.
Tepito es un barrio futbolero donde, pues, como puedes ver, ahorita que hay un partido de fútbol, todos sacan sus televisiones para ver los partidos más en estas fechas que son el mundial.
La verdad, ser campeones. Quizás mucha gente no le tiene la fe, pero yo siento que lo podemos lograr. Tenemos un equipo muy bueno y una nómina muy excelente, entonces tengo fe que podemos ser campeones.
Rock Chalk, Algeria!
You can't walk through Lawrence without seeing Algerian flags, shirts, or colored lights in the trees on Mass Street.
Algeria is our home team now.
I think it's really cool because I think if you know Lawrence and you've been to Lawrence, you know it's special.
This one does on the back, it says Lawrence.
Morgan Fellers is selling locally made shirts and flags, saying traveling fans visit her store every day.
I have people messaging on my Instagram and social media from Algeria all the time saying thank you for making these shirts, thank you for supporting our team, thank you for welcoming them and making them feel at home when they're here, which has been really, really cool.
Outside the Red Lion,
Rock Chalk, Algeria!
residents don their new shirts, showing support to the team.
I'm not surprised that we've opened our city and our arms and our hearts, and I've just really loved watching the world fall in love with my city.
And inside the Red Lion, they've turned their reserve side into a non-alcoholic area where fans can enjoy watching the game as well as try some Algerian beverages.
To root this team on has just been the honor of our community.
Ruth DeWitt says the reaction from Algerian fans, Lawrence residents, and the world has been beyond anything they could have imagined.
We've had some conversations with the embassy that's in Algiers to have sort of a teacher-to-teacher connection, to have an artist-to-artist connection, to connect our kids.
She adds there's also sister city discussions currently underway, ensuring this friendship continues long after the World Cup ends.
Converting excitement and cheers to dollars and cents. Businesses across Atlanta hope to cash in from the FIFA World Cup.
There's a confidence to what's going on here. It just feels solid.
Josh Calvin, co-owner of Bottle Rocket in South Downtown, says he's already seen the success soccer can drive in the city.
Soccer in Atlanta has, as we've seen, taken a real strong foothold. MLS has been great. I mean, it literally changed the landscape of our business over there.
His business partner, Bonnie McKinnon, says expectations are high as they spent weeks planning, preparing, hiring extra staff, and stocking more ingredients to handle the large crowds.
So I think we're going to see a lot of foot traffic. I think that we're going to see a lot of international and domestic people coming here and ready to have a good time.
Over at the Battery in Cobb County,
seared chicken,
a spillover effect at Walk-On Sports Bistro.
Fans coming in from all over the place, really rolling into town in Atlanta, but yeah, we see that out here as well.
Senior Director of Operations Chris Williams says he's noticed soccer fans piling inside the restaurant for watch parties.
Being in Atlanta, being the melting pot that it is, we see fans of all different backgrounds coming to our restaurants, which is terrific. Generally, this time of the year is a bit slower. Now, this year we have the World Cup, which is awesome. The summertime has definitely picked up in comparison to usual. The Braves are doing great this year.
Atlanta city officials predicted each World Cup match would produce the economic impact of about 1.5 Super Bowls. And for those battling higher costs and fighting to stay in business, the beautiful game could give them the boost they need to survive.
So this is a prime example of what you see. These are the larger dogs, and they sit with us for a longer time.
It's been an extremely challenging time for animal rescue groups here in San Diego, trying to keep pace with the record number of pets being surrendered for adoption. The main reason, they say, the cost of living is forcing people to make tough choices.
It's already extremely expensive to have a pet. Veterinary costs are high. With inflation, food, all the things are increasing on all of us. So if there's additional pet fees when you are also forced to move, that can mean the difference between somebody keeping their pet or not.
And for a lot of people who rent an apartment or a home here in San Diego, sometimes there is another expense affecting animal ownership. Certain property owners are charging additional rent for each pet in your family.
In addition to a pet deposit, some landlords choose to charge additional fees. And that could be an ongoing monthly fee for having a certain type of pet or a certain size of pet or a certain breed of pet. And so, in short, these so-called junk fees are additional fees on top of the pet deposit.
But at the end of this month, the San Diego City Council will consider a new law that would eliminate the monthly pet fees across the board, a proposal that has the full support of the Humane Society.
We very much support getting rid of additional fees. It is okay to charge a pet deposit. It is okay if landlords don't want to allow pets. But if they do allow pets, we very much support just having the pet deposit and no additional fees on top of that.
With the shelters busting at the seams these days, once again, the number one reason for surrender is the cost of living, forcing people to move out of San Diego. Oftentimes, the family pet becomes too much of a burden, and they are left behind.
The top reason over the past 3 years why people come to us and give up their pets is because they're moving. And so if they have a large dog, for example, it's much harder to move to a new place if there's all these restrictions.
Amazon Prime Day deals are live. It's actually a 4-day sale. Bank of America expects the 96-hour event to generate more than $21.5 billion in sales. Walmart has its own Deals and More sale going on, and Target Circle Days are also going on now. A veteran executive will take over Domino's Pizza. The current CEO is moving into the executive chair role. The new CEO, Joe Jordan, on the left, will take over October 1st. He is a company insider who also worked at PepsiCo. Domino's is the world's largest pizza chain. It's been taking steps to revive the business. Luxury sports car maker Porsche could be cutting jobs. The German automaker is in discussions with employee representatives. Porsche is looking to realign strategy to counter a slow uptake of electric vehicles, weakness in China, and U.S. tariffs. And Ulta Beauty will be working with Bath & Body Works. Ulta will sell the store's signature fragrances, hand soaps, and candles in more than 600 stores starting in less than a month. Ulta is launching more brand partnerships to drive sales, and Bath & Body Works is looking to give shoppers more ways to find the company's lotions and candles. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Such a beautiful state. It has so many lakes and rivers and pools and amazing bodies of water. And what we know is that drowning, unfortunately, is the #1 cause of death for kiddos 1 to 4 nationwide, and that's true as well in Alabama.
Kristen Cannon, Mountain Brook YMCA Executive Director, calling drownings tragedies that impact family, friends, and communities.
You know, when our hearts break for those families, right, everything in us turns to, okay, so what can we do to prevent this?
Treating water with a healthy level of respect is key. That and remaining calm when things get rocky.
Staying calm, knowing that our body is going to be okay if our head goes under the water, knowing how to hold our breath, right? When our body goes under the water, if we take a deep breath in, right, we end up taking in a whole lot of water, which is scary and dangerous, right? And so knowing like, okay, if I fall in the water, how do I stay calm is really that first kind of level of comfort and really skill.
Once you can remain calm, Cannon says there are key swimming skills you should know.
At the Y, we're so incredibly passionate about making sure that we're getting in front of folks to provide those prevention and support education skills.
Make sure you breathe.
Like, for instance, how to float on our backs, or like, for instance, how to swim and get to the side of the pool, or to jump and turn.
No matter what body of water you're near, a pool, lake, or river, being prepared is life-saving, whether you're swimming, tubing, or even on a boat.
And we don't plan on anything happening while we're on a boat, right? But we know that accidents happen, right? And so to be prepared, regardless of the situation, is always the safest way to go.
It's a species of parasitic fly that feeds on the flesh of warm-blooded animals and people. New World screwworms lay eggs in wounds and body openings, which hatch into larvae and eat live tissue.
We hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and I believe that's where our states and USDA both are aligned.
Mostly cattle have been impacted so far, and Texas has had the majority of cases. There was also a dog infected in New Mexico. One way U.S. officials are responding is by releasing sterile flies. The USDA says it's an eco-friendly technique that disrupts the parasitic fly's ability to reproduce.
That was very successful in eradicating screwworm from the United States and all the way down through Central America back in the 50s, 60s, and into the early 2000s. And I believe it can be a successful technique again.
While the CDC says the risk to humans remains low, the agency says to watch for symptoms, including unexplained painful wounds or sores that don't heal, a foul-smelling odor or bleeding, seeing maggots or feeling movement in open wounds or sores. Any suspected infections in people or animals should be reported to local or state health officials, and protect against the flies in areas where they're present by keeping open wounds clean and covered, limit exposed skin by wearing loose-fitting, long-sleeved clothing, use an EPA-registered insect repellent to prevent insect bites, treat clothing and gear with permethrin, and sleep indoors or in rooms with screens. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
You're a spark in the dark, and my clothes will caught a flame. You should feel how I feel when somebody says your name.
Olivia Rodrigo seems pretty happy for a woman with a #1 album. You seem pretty sad for a girl so in love just debuted atop the Billboard 200. Rodrigo is also launching a new music festival in August that'll raise money for charities benefiting women and girls. The all-female musical lineup will include Chappell Roan, Stevie Nicks, and Doechii.
We come out of the lab with the intelligence of a toddler. Is that where the sun lives? And then we learn everything from our humans.
There you go. And then slowly.
Well, that's dumb.
A new trailer is giving us our first look at Jenna Ortega in Clara and the Sun. Director Taika Waititi's sci-fi film stars Ortega as a robotic artificial friend purchased by a mother for her daughter who's suffering from a mysterious illness. Clara and the Sun hits the big screen in October.
It's your show. It's your creative vision. This is going to blow people's minds.
If you missed Billie Eilish's last tour, don't worry. You can now watch from the comfort of your couch. Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, is now available to buy or rent on digital. Co-directed by Eilish and James Cameron, the concert film provides a VIP all-access pass to the sold-out tour. In Hollywood, I'm Douglas Hyde.
I could tell within 2 minutes of meeting you, you are not just some boy band guy.
And you are too good for that wedding band.
A post-wedding jam session turns into a stolen song in Power Ballad.
You don't recognize it?
Should I?
Yeah, of course, yes, you should. That's my chorus and verse. I wrote that song.
When?
One of the great things that happens sometimes with being an actor is you get to play a role and be somebody for a while that, you know, is not you. And this was a really fun thing to tackle, and it was, a little nerve-wracking.
Time to write a song without you. It was kind of a dream role in a lot of ways. I think that people are imperfect. That's just how it is. And sometimes we ask ourselves that question: how far would we go to get everything we ever wanted? And that's the question that Danny, I think, is asked in this movie. Having my name on that song would have changed my life.
Copyright is a relatively recent concept, and it was a lot of it originally was to do with like the Bible, where you would copy the Bible, and then somebody said, but the guys copying the Bible have done a really nice job. You should pay them something if you're going to copy their copy. It's been a really interesting sort of world of how do you say somebody stole my idea, and that's endlessly interesting to me.
This song changed my life.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Watch Sacramento sheriff's officials use an aerial drone to disarm a knife-wielding suspect in what the agency is calling a nationwide first. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office shared video of a standoff with a parolee at large they say had been spotted with a gun. The suspect was not responding to negotiators, so deputies used a remote drone to locate the man hiding in the garage. He appeared incapacitated but was holding a knife, so the operators got creative, attaching a magnet to the drone, which was able to slowly but surely pluck the blade from the hand of the man, reducing the risk to deputies, who then moved in and, according to KCRA, safely apprehended the suspect. The agency called it a creative and skillful use of technology, which they say keeps both law enforcement personnel and suspects safe. Speaking of getting creative to get what you want, take a look at a newly discovered crafty spider that uses a unique spring-loaded web trap to snare its prey. According to a study published in the journal Current Biology, the so-called ballista spider, recently discovered in the Australian rainforest, was caught on camera setting a unique webby snare trap to snap up green tree ants from above. Kind of like those old rope traps from Tom and Jerry, the ones that always caught more Tom than Jerry. Using web lines carefully strung with high tension, once sprung by curious worker ants, the trap flings the prey right at the spider waiting above. In the study, researchers called the tactic highly specialized, saying it appears to be the only case where a spider's web trap is triggered by the prey rather than by the predator, allowing the spider to pick off its targets from a safe distance. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Prime ministers come and prime ministers go, but there's one resident of Downing Street who endures, Larry the cat. Larry's is a real rags to riches story. He was a stray cat who was adopted in 2011 by Downing Street from the Battersea Dogs and Cats home to deal with a rodent infestation. His record on that score is a bit mixed. There have been suggestions he hasn't actually caught that many mice in his 15 years in the post, but he's become a much beloved fixture of Downing Street. The journalists who come to this street every day regularly give him treats and wait for him to appear from behind the black door just so they can get shots of him posing or prowling or generally going about his daily business.
I think it's just that air of anticipation, because we just don't know exactly what will happen, but we do know that he's great at photobombing. So if there's a foreign leader that's about to visit, then we know he'll just come out at the exact moment that that meet and greet's about to happen. I think it's just a very reassuring thing for a lot of people that he's around. And he's still sprightly as ever, despite being 19. He's outlasted a lot of people because he's just a cat. He's very good at what he does, lounging around and basically showing people that he's not very nonchalant.
Reading,
18 feet long.
writing, and AI?
The question is not whether AI is going to impact education. The real question is whether we will shape its use thoughtfully, responsibly.
Lawmakers focusing not just on what AI teaches, but how.
What do we know when it comes to long-term cognitive impact of the use of this technology?
We have no causal studies on long-term impact on social or cognitive development.
The percentage of high school seniors performing at grade level in math and reading is down 4 points from 2009. Lawmakers are skeptical about AI boosting performance.
Kids have outsourced critical thinking, have outsourced friendship, have even outsourced moral advice to AI.
There are also privacy concerns. AI could harvest what students learn.
These tools are getting more access to more information about our students that we may not even be aware of.
An over-reliance on AI by teachers to grade papers is troubling.
For those that start using AI, there's a tendency to trust everything that it spits out. That can create serious problems.
Some lawmakers doubt that AI can do everything.
The foundational relationship between a child and a teacher is not something that AI is going to recreate.
Students may question the value of an education if they can't find a job because of AI.
They blame AI for this. We've got to make some choices about AI to make sure it actually is good for the American workforce.
Bipartisan lawmakers are now working on a framework to regulate AI. House Speaker Mike Johnson wants to pass that before the end of the year. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush. Fast-paced news updates, featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True crime warrior style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look, to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app. Available on Android and iOS devices. Streaming 24/7.
There's more to Fox 54 Plus with the Locked On Podcast Network. From the Tide to the Tigers, from college teams to pro, the Locked On Podcast Network gives you insights and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.
These kids, they want to play.
I don't think so. I think it was Chad Baker-Mazzara.
Locked On Sports, streaming every day of the week and right here on Fox 54 Plus.
This is what he's going to tell you.
He's trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir. The only thing they could do was kill him.
The jury to find the defendant